Welcome back to Long Story Long. I'm your host, Casey Peterson, and let's talk entrepreneurship. You may or may not know, I started my own business in 2017, so we are going into year 8 of business. I say we, but I'm literally talking about me. And with that, my business is in PR and marketing, social media management. It's called Casey Peterson Public Relations. With public relations, it's a broad term, and typically in the past, I think everyone looked at PR, having a publicist, as just having media placement and getting you on TV or getting you in a magazine. But look at today's mainstream media. What is that? What is our mainstream source of media? And it's social media. So with that, my business has kind of spiraled more into social media management and curating and conceptualizing what you look like and sound like on social, as well as your Google business, your website, your events, marketing, influencer marketing, all of the above. So really over the last 7 to 8 years, it's been a consistent and constant evolution of the brand and of myself and of the services I offer. And with that presents many challenges and just literally riding the wave of your own creation and trusting the process, even though no one really showed me or taught me said process. So you're probably wondering what brought me into becoming an entrepreneur and starting a business in the first place. Upon graduation of college, which was in May of 2017, I had been working full time and had various jobs since I was 16. I had been a lifeguard, I had been a waitress, I had been a front desk agent, I had been a leasing professional. I had been all of these different oddball random jobs. And into my last year of college, I got an awesome opportunity to be a director of marketing with a plastic surgery office and helping them launch a med spa, which at the time, medical spas were like a new concept compared to now there's like a med spa on every corner and everyone knows their beauty trends via med spas, which that was not the case back in 2016 when I had this opportunity. Really cool to be at the forefront of the true like evolution of medical spas, medical skincare, and how much money was truly just pumping into that industry. And the plastic surgeon I worked for at the time was awesome. He was very intuitive of understanding like, hey, you're a director of marketing and I know we're pulling you in all these different directions. I was patient coordinating. I was helping them with launching this med spa and getting the word out to all the plastic surgery patients, trying to convert over like 26,000 patients from the plastic surgery side into medical spa patients, as well as like the branding, the brand voice, the events, the marketing, the influencers, the social media, the blogs, the content behind both of those brands simultaneously while finishing my last year of college. So it was a big girl job and I'm very thankful for that opportunity. But as my graduation got closer and closer, I was like, I want to do what I'm doing now, but not just in one place. I do not want to work in one office, see the same people, and work with the same brand every single day. I think I have the capacity, and with my creative touch, could do this for multiple brands, multiple accounts, not working a 9 to 5. I don't need to be like a director of marketing somewhere or director of PR somewhere. I would much rather prefer to be my own boss. But what does that look like? I didn't go to like start a business 101 in college. They really weren't offering any type of degree program like that. Otherwise, I would have. I studied PR and I was getting a degree in public relations from Kennesaw State. And I was like, I'm going to start a public relations company. What does that look like? Let me look into as if I were applying and wanting to go join another PR agency or company in the area. Everything I saw online was basically free work. Like, you can come be an intern, you can come fetch coffee, you can help be an event assistant, but you dang sure are not about to become a publicist straight out of college, or you're definitely not going to get a directorial role or like a lead management role or an account manager. You are going to start at the very bottom and work your way up, which I respect, and to each their own. But I had felt like, and I know I had the backing of business and being in business and working on social media at that time already nearly 10 years. So I was like, yeah, I need to make a living out of this, and I do not need to go fetch coffee and be an intern somewhere else and watch someone else do what I should be doing for myself and for different businesses and brands. And I know I can offer and sell something. I do not know the value just yet. I do not know how to price it out just yet. I don't even know what the specific service offerings are going to be, but I do know I want to be in this land of creativity, marketing, social media, PR. What does it look like? I basically shared all of that with the plastic surgery office that I was working with. And like I said, that surgeon and the person running the practice were very intuitive to what I was trying to do, and basically left it like, okay, listen, as long as you can find us an in-house replacement, someone to come in and run the patient side of things and the on-site marketing and the follow-ups with patients, we don't mind becoming like kind of like your first client, 1099ing us, and you take on all of those digital marketing PR efforts that you've already been managing, but now as a contractor through your company. And it was a beautiful, like rare unicorn opportunity, especially upon college graduation. So literally between that February and May with me graduating, I was transitioning out of that full-time role into becoming that contractor role with them. It was pretty awesome. We got a replacement in office that was handling more of the on-site patient coordinating side of things. And then I took on, okay, they're going to be my first client. But I did know at my contractor rate and scaling back the fact that I wasn't going to be there in person working a traditional like 9 to 5 anymore and having benefits and being full time, that I needed to start myself out there and finding other clients. So I vetted out a friend of a friend to help me with a logo. I created a website, a brand sheet just of like a bullet point. This is what I'm selling. This is how much it costs per month. And I'm for sale. Like, hire your girl. And again, it's PR. And like I said, public relations is very broad, and I say it's up for interpretation, and the PR is something that everyone needs, and PR is something every brand needs to have professionally managed, whether it's in-house or out of house through a vendor or a combination of the two. It is something that is a full-time job, and PR does not go away. So it is not a dying field. PR placement in a newspaper or PR placement in a magazine or PR placement on the morning news, I do believe is kind of a dead field in its own way, unless you can access those placements digitally, because I look at the digital placement land and the social media land of the top performing media channel, and that's where I'm servicing 99% of my clients, and 99% of it being virtual, remote, digital. I'm not reporting to an office. I personally don't have office space that's dedicated for me. I tried to have office space in one part of my business, and that only lasted like 6 months. Honestly, too distracting. Like, I could not focus with the office. Like, I am much more a digital nomad when it comes to like getting into that creativity and having my outlet, especially for my clients. I almost have to zen out and take that beat. I cannot be in like this collaborative office, like playing ping pong and grabbing coffee. Like, that's way too distractive for me to be able to accomplish things. But to each their own. I'm not knocking anyone or knocking any other agencies. Everyone has different strokes for different folks for a reason. And like I was saying, I had an awesome opportunity to take on that plastic surgery office as my first client, but I knew that was not enough financially for me to make a living off of. So how am I going to make a living and make this my full-time effort and be full-time self-employed? Started going on Indeed and basically sourcing and scouting out people looking for what I was offering as a 1099, but they're of course looking for a full-time marketing director or full-time social media specialist. And I started applying with a cover letter of, hey, this is something I offer. And instead of paying someone $40,000 to $100,000 per year, you can invest in me as a third party and I can accomplish X, Y, and Z. You don't have to invest in my insurance. You don't have to give me a desk in your office. I'm going to be able to provide you these things at basically a discounted price. So my initial pitch, where I probably went wrong with starting my company, was already selling myself short and as the cheaper option, like save money by booking me. And I looked at it like this is the only way people are going to buy into this because I just finished college. Not realizing as much as a college degree means to some people, it means nothing to others. And in the creative space, especially in this digital space, I did not have a social media management degree. I did not have that wasn't even something that was offered. So looking at what I was trying to offer and having that PR degree and it being kind of like, we don't need that. We're just a blank office, or we're just this business. We don't need PR. We don't need a publicist. And me trying to recreate and recreate the wheel or whatever. I was really doing that and doing it on my own and not necessarily knowing who to listen to, who to lean on. There wasn't no TikTok I could search back then and be like, oh, okay, business beginnings 101. This is what you do, or this is how you create the LLC, or should you be an S Corp, or should you start this bank account, or should you get an EIN number? None of that. was explained to me. All I knew is that I am a connector and a people person, so let me start pitching myself, treat myself as my first client, and really start getting the ball rolling. And within that first month and a half, I was working with the plastic surgery office, an attorney office, and a yoga studio, as well as an interior designer. So talk about like a, wait, what? What are you doing? And with who? I liked being a no niche bitch, a no niche niche, whatever you want to call it. I did not want to be in one focus or service area and represent people locally to me that technically were in competition with each other. So I looked at it, the more versatile and the more variety that I had in clients, the better. So having that oddball array of clientele was exactly what I was going for. And it was a huge blessing, like within that first 3 to 6 months, to really like dunk my toe in the water of self-employment, managing multiple accounts, realizing real quick that just because I didn't work a 9 to 5 doesn't mean I'm not working 40 plus hours a week. Instead, it turns into like 60 to 80 plus hours, as there really isn't a definitive line between personal and professional when you're self-employed and running your own business. And I will cut it to you straight like that, because if you are considering going into self-employment, that is something you need to recognize off the rip. Yes, it is what you make it, but should you make it to where you're not working those hours, you're not putting it into your own brand, you are not like consumed by it and not blurring that line, your bank account will tell, your clientele will reflect that. So be mindful that just because you're leaving a 9 to 5 and you're going into self-employment does not mean the grass is always greener in some of those aspects. And that was a big reality check for me that summer and fall after graduation. Was very humbling of, I can do this and people trust in me, but I am not making enough to live off of this. Am I being crazy? Am I being foolish? Am I being reckless? I need to come up with something better in this regard. Like, I need to be making more money from this project. And going into that holiday season, again, very humbling. I knew I could like barely afford a gift per person in my family, let alone like not even sure what I should be asking for. I'm just trying to make rent work. I'm just trying to pay my bills. I'm not even able to afford my website subscription for my company. And I was like, I'm working all these hours and oddball things and I'm putting all this effort in, but I'm not seeing the financial reward from it. I basically just prayed to God that winter break and holiday season and was like, listen, if this is not for me, let it not be for me. Like, I gave it a go, I gave it a try, but like, I need a big girl job. And I just started applying, like mass applying on Indeed and Monster and all these different websites, marketing role at Delta, trying to get in over at Turner, trying to get in with all these big dogs. Now also almost feeling like I've gone backwards, because instead of going right out of college and being like, well, oh, she just got out of college, so we're going to give her this opportunity. It's like, wait, she got out of college, tried this self-employment, started her own company thing, and now she's trying to find a job. Like, clearly that didn't work out for her. So I felt like it was being held against me, or if I even got an interview or follow-up during that time, it was like, so are you quitting your company? And it was like really hurtful and really just kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing here. What exactly am I supposed to be doing? And I got a very unique opportunity over the course of that break through KPPR, through my own company. And KPPR is Casey Peterson Public Relations, just in case you didn't know. Now you know. There wasn't any follow-up from any of those Indeed jobs I was applying to. I wasn't getting that quote-unquote big girl corporate job that I thought, well, maybe that's what I need to do to be taken seriously, and the self-employment thing isn't for me because I cannot afford to live off of the self-employment. And I went in with an opportunity that I got digitally because I was pitching a client slash friend for a media project she was filming for her own personal media brand that she had created, where she basically interviewed all kinds of celebrities, athletes, actors, musicians, and was taking them around different hot spots in Atlanta, doing an interview from the place or the attraction, and then recapping it and featuring both the attraction and the celebrity and the project being promoted. So if it was a new movie or a sports team or a book that someone had wrote, she and her business partner were doing this segment around Atlanta. And I was working with them to help them with placement, PR, all of that jazz. And we became really good friends from that project. Super thankful for that. And it was a lot more collaborative, like meeting of the minds. How can we collaborate? Than it was more transactional, which I also appreciated because it really helped us like find time for the passion project side of this industry versus it being so transactional and about like a money exchange all of the time. And with that, I was pitching her and her business and her brand all over Atlanta to like the most random attractions, big and small. Like I was just like, I'm knocking on the door. It does not matter how big this door is. And one of them was literally the Skyview observation wheel, Ferris wheel in downtown Atlanta. And I was just like, hey, it would be really cool for this media project for her to, host one of her interviews on the Ferris wheel. Like, how cool would that be? This is the whole overview, like pitch deck of my client. This is a little bit more about KPPR. We're local. Would you want to collaborate with us? Basically, like within 24 hours of that email, I got a phone call from the owner of the Ferris wheel, observation wheel, whatever you want to call it. And they were based in St. Louis. They actually weren't based in Atlanta. And I'm thinking it's a follow-up to be like yes or no, or ask some questions about this collaboration. Instead, this was like a full-blown phone interview about, so tell me a little bit more about yourself, Casey. Tell me a little bit more about KPPR. What kind of packages do you sell? Do you represent attractions? We really like the way you position and pitch your account. And yes, hands down, we're going to collaborate and work with her and her brand and her company, and happy to help in that regard. But we also want to see if you're willing to potentially take us on as a client, and we have some other projects around the US that we think this would be a good fit for if you're open to it. And I was like, OMG, yes. And they were coming into town in like 2 weeks for the SEC college football championship situation. I'm not well versed in college football, so if I'm saying it wrong, whatever. Ownership was coming down because they are one of the biggest attractions in downtown Atlanta for these type of sporting events, and basically get invited as owners to all of the big, fun, cool things. So they were saying, hey, we're only going to be in town for like this 48-hour turnaround the weekend of this game. If you don't mind just coming down, we want to like shake hands, meet you face to face, go over like the project, what we're thinking, our budget, all of that, and go from there. So I'm looking at it like I have this huge proposal that I need to, get together. I need to like have a real pitch meeting. This is going to be one of my biggest potential accounts, like quite literally, physically the biggest account I've ever worked with at a freaking observation wheel in downtown Atlanta. Are you kidding? And I was so nervous, but so looking at that as my affirmation from God that you don't need that big girl corporate job. You are that big girl, and this is your job, and you're supposed to be doing this through KPPR. Like, stop trying to leave and jump ship, hunker down, and make this happen. So getting closer to that, I got a phone call like 3 days out from the same owner who was like, hey, by the way, Zach Brown Band is going to be performing at Tabernacle, which is right behind Skyview, and we got VIP tickets, and we're taking our wives, so we have an extra 2 tickets should you want to come and bring a guest. That'll be right after our meeting, so you can just pop over there and enjoy the concert. Also keep in mind, this is like a VIP exclusive like SEC football like promotional concert that's already like been sold out, or there was like a ticket lottery for, and it's Zach Brown, and it's big in Georgia. I was like, oh my gosh, of course I want to go. And how generous. I haven't even met these people, and they're already like so hospitable. Like, this is already giving the hospitality, attraction, tourism industry vibe, and I'm excited to partake. So I put together this big proposal. I had just gotten this Surface Pro iPad situation, and I remember being like, I'm going to like scroll through this Canva presentation that I made. I made all these bullet points about what KPPR is going to offer this Ferris wheel and their other concepts. So they have other traveling Ferris wheel concepts throughout the US, which I'll get into that a little bit later. But basically a big pitch deck of why they should bring me on to the project. I get there and I go to present, and I bring out the iPad and stuff. I've already met the owners. I've met their wives. I've gotten a tour of everything, kind of gotten the history of their story and what brought them into this attraction industry. I remember one of the owners just kind of like looking at the Surface Pro iPad thing and being like, so what was this? What are we doing here? And I was like, oh, I was going to walk you through, just an overview of my proposal. And he's, oh, there's no proposal necessary. I thought we already covered, like, you are hired. Like, this was just more of, we wanted to meet you, shake hands, get acquainted, since we're based out of town. This is like the one time we were going to be here, just to make sure like we have a face to a name and we're connected and we're good. But we're ready to start like within the next 2 weeks if you're ready to start. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so this is not, I didn't all that stress and all of that work for this proposal to pitch myself, and it wasn't even going to happen. But I am thankful for that, because it did keep me on my toes, and it forced me into a headspace of being ready to really truly close a deal and like just sell, myself and my company like a piece of freaking real estate. Like I was ready to rock, like my own realtor here. The fact that I didn't even need to do it was amazing and very telling as well, and just gave me my own kind of pat on the back moment of I have already secured this from XY. I don't even have to bring out Z. And that also gave me that little confidence boost of I can do this. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur and I'm supposed to be in this industry, point blank, period. So with that account, I managed them for over, I think, 4.5 years. And I think maybe close to 5. They also had another project that was a traveling concept of the observation wheel called the Sky Star. And what was really cool about that project, when they launched it in Kentucky, in Louisville for Kentucky Derby weekend. And they actually flew me to Louisville. I got to meet all these really cool executives who were a part of the Derby and learn the history and how the wheel was going to like transform this park in the city and bring new life to this area, and really PRing the crap out of it on social media, on their website. I built out the websites. I built out the marketing. It was really, really cool, unique opportunity for me. And regardless, whether that had been a full-time opportunity, whether it was me as like I was through a self-employed contractor opportunity, no matter what, that was freaking awesome. With the wheel local in Atlanta, Skyview, it also positioned me in with all of these local contacts. So all of those big girl jobs that I'd been submitting to and all these brands and businesses I was trying to work with and be affiliated with, and these corporate opportunities, I was meeting their marketing executives now because I was attending these meetings on behalf of Skyview as a contractor, because all of the ownership was based in St. Louis. The only on-site management was their operations management, their technician, maintenance management, and sales and stuff like that. It wasn't like they had a full-time director of marketing on site. Essentially, that was me, like not a white label situation, but like there was an internal facing aspect of how to access me, as well as a non-internal KPPR way of accessing me. And I was all 1099 through the agreement. So it was a really cool, unique, blended opportunity. And I got to be in these really cool marketing meetings with the top of the line executives from Home Depot, Chick-fil-A, College Football Hall of Fame, the aquarium, Coca-Cola, all of the above. And not only that, they're all in these corporate chairs. They're all a little bit older, than me. I'm fresh out of college, not even a year out of college at this point. And I had this company. And it was still like this imposter syndrome. Like I'd be in these meetings where I have to present or stand up, introduce myself. And it was so confusing for some people too, to be like, wait a second, you're representing the Ferris wheel? Like that's one of your clients? What exactly is it that you do? And like, are you for sale? Like what? I didn't even know like how to answer that in some of those situations. And it was very like a great, unique, challenging land to be in, but such a rewarding kind of like just being thrown into that deep end. And it was in a deep end that I prayed to be in. So very thankful for that opportunity. And that was going into 2018, and very, very much spearheaded the beginnings of, okay, you're doing this and you're not looking back. And like I said, I've been self-employed now going into 8 years and working under my own LLC. And I've worked with I think over 35, 40 different accounts over those years. And a good bit of my industry and my quote unquote competitors, or the nature of this business, is everything is a short-term project to project, contract to contract basis or relationship. And there's a lot of turnover and handing the baton to another agency to come in, or just not, you're only with them for a particular launch and then you're out. A lot of the relationships I've nurtured and the clientele I've had has been over 2 to 4 to 5 years even within that 8-year span. So I'm very thankful for just loyalty across the board and evolution, because there's been so much evolution with not only me as an individual, but me as a business and the services I'm offering. So the fact that these businesses have stayed with me and evolved with me, and there's data backing the impact that my business offers their business, is just beautiful and super humbling, because again, that imposter syndrome really never goes away. Even on this podcast and having a personal podcast and a platform where I'm oversharing and spilling tea, I was like, do I even make an episode about entrepreneurship? Am I even really vetted to have that conversation or share? Excuse me, 8 years into it, and I'm still contemplating that. Are you kidding? And even since I've taken on other professional aspects this year. Like I started Pilates instructing, which has been amazing. I meet all these people in the fitness industry or other instructors, and they're in different things like PT and activewear and like all these things that make sense for you being an instructor. Like you're in those lands. And then I'm like this PR marketing self-employed chick, and it's kind of like, huh, what is it that you do? Huh? And I still go through that headspace of, what is it that I do? Or how do I wear my resume on my forehead right now? There is a lot of that I get annoyed about in some settings and some Christmas parties and even with dating, where you're just like, let me go into my spiel. Because I do feel like if I had that copy and paste corporate job title or worked for that big box brand or had that more traditional job, it is a quick like, hey, my name is blank and what do you do for a living? Oh, I do this and I work there and this. And even if you don't know the like specifics, it's like, oh, okay, cool, moving on. So where did you grow up, or what do you like to eat? Like you bypass that. With self-employment or entrepreneurship, and I don't know if it's just me, I'm sure it's all of us that are in this land, I could be in a random social setting. I've known this person for 2.5 seconds, and that's the opening like one-liners of like, so what do you do? And because I'm like, oh, I own my own company, I'm in PR and marketing, it immediately flips into like this 20 questions. Like I'm in this hot seat in the middle of this random social event. Like I'm just trying to be at the buffet, at the food, or I'm at the bar trying to grab a drink, or I'm just trying to take a picture of someone real quick. And now I'm in this like domino effect of PRing myself, and I'm not even necessarily, that's not what I'm there to do. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do that right now. But then I'm like, low key, like, that's why you're in this world, Casey. Like just answer the freaking question. And I think some people have a weird sense of inferiority of things they don't understand. I think that's across the board. So when some people are like kind of hammering me or like drilling me, like it's almost like they don't get it that I'm self-employed, or they don't get it that I'm managing clients and I have a business. And I think now more with social media and the evolution of digital like careers in general, especially post-COVID, I have had less and less of that having to explain myself. But I will tell you, in those first like 3 to 4 years pre-COVID, it was a lot of like, huh? And you do that from home? You don't have an office? Like, so what exactly are you doing? Do you even make money? Like, is this like a passion project? It makes sense now looking back of it, but there's just such a whole different generational approach to business in general. But post-COVID, I will say COVID created a whole new awakening with people having to work from home and the concepts of digital space, of digital creation, digital communication, that really helped fill in the blanks for some people, that what I offer is not only just like this random little fun little project thing, just sit on my ass from home. No, I can work from home, I can run my own company, and I can offer all of these services and achieve them even better from home and digitally than I would at a cubicle in your office 40 days per week. So very thankful for that evolution, because it has created less and less of that having to fill in the blanks, but I still catch myself with that imposter syndrome, and I don't know if that ever truly will grow or go away. I think that the more and more myself as an entrepreneur and my business evolves, I'm hopefully, and I pray and I see it, I'm going to be in bigger and better situations, and I will continue to feel even more like an imposter in those situations. So we're working on that. But that also, just a note, if you're considering going into this land, if you think there's a level of like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I own my own business and I'm so cool and I run this shit. Sure. That might be your thing. I'm just saying that after 8 years, so 2 years less short of a decade of doing this full time, and I still not suffer, but still struggle with that imposter syndrome. So it definitely doesn't go away. Also, too, I think that there's a lot of interesting dynamics in being an entrepreneur and being single and dating, and that was never my past. If you've listened to my other episodes, or you know me personally, you know I came out of a long-term relationship where I was engaged, and during that almost 7-year relationship is when I actually was finishing college, starting this company. So I'd never truly been like a single entrepreneur dating until recently, in the last few years. And that's been an interesting land. I will say, like, even last year, some of the first dates that I went on, I just have self-employed on the dating profiles at the time. And they interpreted self-employed marketing as like, oh, so you're an influencer. Or, oh, so you have an OnlyFans. I'm like, excuse me? No, I have an LLC and I'm a business, and no knock on OnlyFans and no knock on influencers. But it was actually offensive because I was like, no, I didn't get where I am from that. I am doing this. I will say there's been influencer-like opportunities that have landed with on my lap personally because of what I do professionally in PR. I am tremendously thankful for. But with the dating concept, it was interesting being like, no, that I like run my own business. And how many dudes who just don't like that? Or like I said, that same inferiority of not understanding something, them not getting that this apartment you're seeing, this car that you're seeing, this clothes that I'm wearing, this look that I'm presenting is all brought to you by me. I'm self-employed and I do this and I'm my boss. And that trip that I went on from my bank account, no, like they don't get it. And if they do get it, there's a level of them wanting, I guess, like to be that old school, like provider, whatever, I don't know what it is, mindset of like they don't like that I built that. Or they don't know how to explain that to mommy and daddy or whatever. I don't know. And then there's some who really like it almost too much to where they're like, oh, a sugar mama. And I'm like, oh, no, sir. So it's a dual-edged sword. Something else, too, that I wanted to touch on in regards to the influencer space and kind of influencer opportunities and the evolution of that market. As I mentioned previously, I started my company in 2017. That, to me, was the wave coming off of influencer across the board, like influencers profiting. When I remember being in college and starting college in 2012, I had like a random WordPress. I was trying to be in the blog space. I was trying to figure out what that looked like. And at the time, you had these local micro, macro influencers around town that were collaborating with brands, restaurants, fashion, food, but it was nothing like what you're seeing today. But it also created this confusion around what is this space and how is it profitable? How do you differentiate yourself? What is your individual brand? And between working all the odd jobs that I had in college and trying to get a degree and trying to have a social life, that was something that I just would like dabble in every other, year and then kind of be like, nah, no, I have to make money and I have to put my head down and I cannot do these fun little, what seem like frilly things. And let me tell you, that's one of the biggest regrets because had I really hunkered down and leaned into the passion of the blogging and the collaborations and the connectivity back then at the beginning of college, I would have been one of those big banger, like top performing influencers by 2015, 2017 era. But I didn't. And kudos to all the ones who stuck with it before it was a thing because Lord, that was a weird space. That was a strange time. And, the same way I'm talking about dealing with having to explain being self-employed to people and just the confusion, influencing and blogging, all that had triple that confusion and talk about just the weirdness of like having to explain yourself back then versus now it's explainable and it's something everyone wishes they had gotten into. So kudos to all the ones who stuck with it. With that, with going into PR and starting my own company, to me at the time and from advice from my previous partner, there was a lot of like, you're not supposed to be in the spotlight. You are supposed to be behind the scenes. Like, you never know who someone's publicist is. You never know who their PR professional is because it is about them. And I agreed with that. I agreed with like, you're walking that red carpet, not me. I'm in the background. I'm connecting all the dots to get that person there. They are on the pedestal. They are on the platform and I'm in the shadow. Like, it's not about me. I mainly had a social media that was private and I had my business social media that was public and pushing forth all of the promotions for clients. And if I was in social settings, it was more so like I had this goofy, funny college social girl energy that was private. Nothing like what I have now where I'm doing get ready with me as I'm sharing all these intimate details and spilling my tea about myself on a podcast. I was not doing this. And if I did post myself at something, it was like, hey, I am here with this client promoting this project for them. It was not, hey, it's me. Yeah, that's me. That was not the energy. I will say coming out of that breakup and calling off my wedding, and that's another long story, long episode. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. But when I came out of that era, I just pulled back the curtain and I was like overexposing every detail of my life. I am going public on all my social medias. I'm putting myself out there. I'm going to start making myself super uncomfortable. That was the resolution, or like my effort coming out of that era was, if it makes me uncomfortable, I'm saying yes to it. So started getting ready and doing my makeup on TikTok. I started publishing stories. I'm just randomly getting a facial today and I have no makeup on and I look busted. And I'm going to share on my stories about the place I'm getting this facial and the lady doing it and the products I liked here. And a lot of it too was just me going and supporting clients or being brought in on something like, hey, this client needs a little extra social media support but doesn't really have an influencer budget, or they did and the influencer bailed. So I'm going to go talk about it so that they have some user-generated content. And that was their idea. That was not a KPPR, me like, hey, well, I'll come do it for you. That was clients making me uncomfortable. And I'm so thankful for that, because that forced me into this limelight side, I guess, of being this influencer that I didn't necessarily know I had. Now, keep in mind, when I was younger, I had a musical theater background. I was that social girl. And then even in college, I was pursuing like extras work. I was with a talent agent. I was trying to do all the in front of the camera stuff, but just never quite got the opportunity. So when I took on the role of being self-employed and being in PR and doing public relations, like I said, took it like I'm behind the scenes. It does not matter what I look like. It does not matter. It's not about me. No one cares about my opinion. They care about the client, and that's it, period. I think I lost out on so many individual opportunities that naturally would not only complement me or my personal brand, but it complements all of my clients, and everyone benefits from putting myself out there, especially because I'm in the business, in the industry of PR, digital marketing, social media. Like, why wouldn't I be out there? So that was a hard pill to swallow, that there was a lot of missed opportunities, but I do think timing is of the essence in everything. And there's some power behind the years that I was not putting the effort in versus the years that I have in the last 2 years of putting myself out there, making myself uncomfortable, and the opportunities that have presented themselves, not only from a professional standpoint, but also the personal side. And also, like I said before, as an entrepreneur, that's a like fine line where is a lot of crossover and a lot of blurred lines between personal and professional. And I am just super thankful, because now it's something that is not only like connectability and access and really cool, unique opportunities, it's something that is profitable. And I've said it time and time again, who does not want to profit off their passions? Exactly. So that also brings me forth with why I'm in this podcasting space with Long Story Long. I've been in the podcasting space before. I started one in 2020, and I was like the yellow couch conversations with Casey Peterson, and it was all COVID call-in style podcasting because nobody was seeing each other in person, and it was all like grainy, and it was all like this person's on their cell phone in their car calling in to talk to me. I mean, it was not professionally produced or anything, but it was something I was passionate about with sharing. And then I came back, revisited that, I think in 2021 with the CEO show, creating a more business-driven conversational podcast around women in business for entrepreneurs and executives alike, and breaking glass ceilings and kind of just learning a CEO's story behind their business, their brand, and how they got to where they are. And that's still technically a podcast that lives out here in the World Wide Web, and still something I plan to reinvest and relaunch this year and treat it more like a true show without it being these call-in like episodes. Instead, having more of this video component and sit downs with these women. It is going to require a lot more production in the grand scheme of audio, lighting, visual. So that is taking a little bit more time. But that's always been a passion. So you wouldn't talk about that's been something brewing in me since 2020. It's now 2025, and I'm just now getting back on the other side of the mic, putting something out there. And this one's an entirely different concept. And with the idea of entrepreneurship and something I've already been doing, it's still just as scary to start a new project and put your name on it. Even nearly, like I said, over 8 years in the game of being self-employed and being in the entrepreneurial space, still dealing with that imposter syndrome. It's something I encounter across the board, especially with passion projects. If it seems like something that's a passion that gets me excited and it's something I want to put myself out there, it's doubly like as uncomfortable and feels like a waste of time. Like, you're not going to make money off your passion. Are you crazy? But I do think thank God for social media and just seeing where passion pays off for so many people in so many different categories. It's not just in this space of PR, marketing, and social. It's across the board. You can be a passionate nurse and you're socially documenting it and sharing your journey, and you're able to profit not only off of your income as a nurse, but as your income as a content creator or an influencer, or just having that passion and vocalizing it. You could be a stay-at-home mom, and now you're profiting because you're creating content around sharing your journey as a stay-at-home mom, because there's an audience out there who wants to hear from you. And it's really hard, I think, when you come from a small town like me. You're used to more naysayer energy than you are cheerleader energy. And having more of a population rooting against you than for you, or rooting against something you're excited about, to where it makes you want to kind of suppress and push down these passion projects, because once you put them out there, it's another target for someone to shoot you down on. And I think the older I've gotten, it's still there. It's not as prevalent as it was when I was younger, but it's definitely something where I'm like, ooh, this is something that I'm exposing myself. And when you do that, it's another thing that can get shot down. How scary is that for me? And I will say that this, again, in the spirit of keeping myself uncomfortable, we're rocking and rolling. And that's why we're here. That's how Long Story Long evolved. How did I get the name Long Story Long? Your girl has been saying this pretty much all my life. Every time I go to tell a story, I'm such a roundabout or rabbit hole. I'm going to bring it all home. It's all going to connect the dots. We're all going to make it to the point together, but I'm very expressive, and I feel like every bit of that information was necessary for me to get that story out and get that point across. So always ends up being, instead of a long story short at the end of my statement or whatever I've said, I'm long-winded, I'm chatty Cathy, I'm always being like, okay, so long story long, ... So I even teased this like about 6 to 8 months ago on my Instagram stories. Like, okay, if I had a podcast, or not even if I had a podcast, I was just like, what is a like coin token saying that you think of when you think of me? And 9 out of 10 people said long story long. So I was like, that's it. It's meant to be. It's long story long. So here you are with me. You're tuned in on yet another entrepreneurial journey. And I hope that just my background and this story, long story long, on how I got into becoming an entrepreneur, being self-employed, and starting my own business helps you feel encouraged to do the same for yourself. Or maybe you're already doing it and you're wondering if you were alone in that imposter syndrome, or alone in being scared to start a new project, or alone in having to wear your resume on your forehead. You're not. I'm right there with you, and I'm sure there's many more like us. But I hope this story inspired you, and if you are debating becoming an entrepreneur or putting yourself out there, just do it. Literally, Nike said it best. Just do it. And there's a big quote I saw recently in an interview where someone said, do not let your perfectionist turn you into the biggest procrastinator. And I think I am so guilty of this, so guilty in getting OCD and kind of overthinking something, or overthinking the concept to reality process of it, versus if I just sat down and did the dang thing, it would have already been done. Instead of getting to that perfectionist mindset, I'm now procrastinating, and here I am years later doing something I should have already been doing. So just do it. Just put yourself out there.